What is good, people? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, me and Rod are going to be talking about the Champions League final, which went down on Saturday night. Like I said, I'm joined by Rod. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously, interesting game. It depends on what side you look at it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, man. I think it was an interesting game. You been up to much since the Champions League final or not?
Nah, mate, nothing much at all. Yourself?
Nah, mate, just chilling in it. But let's get into it, guys. Obviously, if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like, comment down below, letting us know what you thought of the final, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Rod, so let's get into it. Liverpool lose 1-0 to Real Madrid in the Champions League final. I guess I called it, Rod. Some say genius. You know, I guess I'll take it. But I think we should start away from the game and talk about what was happening before the match. A couple of things I want to get into with it. First of all, I think UEFA are absolutely shambolic. I think what went down, not only with Liverpool fans, but with other fans who were there, absolutely disgusting. Were some fans in the wrong? Of course, some fans were in the wrong. But I think now you're trying to see them pin it on just Liverpool fans, where there are clear evidence that Real Madrid fans, French people doing it as well. And I think a lot of the backlash is going towards Liverpool fans, and I don't think they deserve it.
I think the blame is at UEFA's feet. I think the organisational things were horrific. Obviously, you've got to fit 80k people in, but people arrived 2-3 hours before the game. That should be more than enough time. I was reading reports that Liverpool fans were bottlenecked through a little entrance, and I don't know how you expect to fit 20-30k people through that entrance. I just think poor organisational skills, and what happened shouldn't have happened, especially as they've had months to prepare, months to get things ready, and they've known about it since March, so you've easily got 2 months there. So I think it's just poor from the UEFA, as always.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right as well, because, you know, this is the biggest game in football, and, you know, they've supposedly on the Liverpool end, they only had like 2 gates open, which is fucking ridiculous. You know, it's the biggest game of the year, every year, the Champions League final, and you know, it's a huge event. You're gonna have fans who are traveling not only just to go and see the game, but, you know, to just have, you know, soak in the atmosphere of the place. And on UEFA's part, you know, they should be better than this. And, you know, there was, you know, talks about the Super League and stuff like that, and everyone was like, you know, crying out against it. But we are kind of left with UEFA, and they are as fucking, you know, shit as they come, to be fair.
obviously, we all know about French police, the way they go about things, the way they try and break protests up and things like that. And I think their actions were just completely unnecessary.
Yeah, for me, I found it actually sickening. Before the game, I was sat here waiting for the game. I was on my computer and I was on Twitter, and I was seeing stuff come up, and it was actually, I felt really horrible and just like sick about it. When you're seeing these children crying and running and, you know, coughing because of the tear gas, it was horrible. When you're hearing reports about you know, Joel Matip's brother, whose wife was with him and she was pregnant, and they were in a section which was tear gas. Absolutely, you know, I don't know how you could put it into words. It's just disgusting for UEFA, and, you know, they should be fucking fined massively for this, but they're not going to be.
Yeah, the higher up governing body has to do something about it, but as it's UEFA and they're one of the most corrupt organisations in the world, it's unlikely anything's going to come of it.
Yeah, yeah, it was disgusting there. But when we got to the game, finally, I guess we had, what's her name, Camilla, fucking doing her performance for the game was absolutely fucking shit. This isn't the NFL. We don't need performance before the game to get us hyped for the match. You know what I mean? It was just odd. You could have just literally had the fans have their song of, like, You'll Never Walk Alone and whatever Real Madrid's fucking song is, and it would have been good enough. And, you know, but it was good when the game got started, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Americanization of the sport, start with a performance, I don't completely agree with. I'm not a fan of it. People are there for the football and would try not to turn it into the NFL, which is a spectacle in itself. But yeah, the game, I've spoken to a few people since it happened, and there's been a lot of conflicting opinions. But for me personally, I think going into the game, you knew it was two different styles of play, completely contrasting styles of play. Real Madrid are probably going to sit back and counter, while Liverpool are going to try and pepper them early on and get some goals. I think my prediction, obviously, before the game was I thought Liverpool were going to win. I think if they score one or two early on, then I think they breeze it. But the later the game goes on, you knew Real Madrid was still in it and they could have got something. And for me personally, I thought, I've seen loads of people completely disagree with me, but I thought Liverpool were the better side. But Real Madrid, they came and executed their game plan to a T. Liverpool peppered the goal. Some chances were better than others. They had a couple clear-cut chances, but could have gone in. But when Courtois is man of the match, you know that he's done something right. And I don't know. I think Liverpool were unlucky, but Real Madrid's game plan was executed to a T. Substitutions were correct, made when they need to be made, and yeah, I thought, in my opinion, I did think Liverpool deserved to win, but I can see why people said Real Madrid deserved to win. I guess it's not always on stats, but for me, I don't know. I think Liverpool played quite well, and you could see they were running out of steam towards the end, and once you play that many games in the season, it's understandable, and Real Madrid have been off for a couple of weeks, so I guess that played a big part.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the game was really interesting. Personally, for me, I really struggled with the first 10, 15 minutes of the game watching it from home. I don't know what was happening. I'm not sure if it was the camera angle itself or if they were having problems with the frame rate, but I had horrible, like, sort of motion sickness, and I never had it before, but I felt super sick and just, like, really giddy. But after about 15 minutes, it seemed fine for me, and I was able to continue watching it. But for me, the game was an interesting one. I did predict that Real Madrid would win. I've been predicting that I think I've predicted them to win every round basically so far. But yeah, kind of happy with that. I wanted them to win, so I guess some of my thoughts might be a little bit biased, but watching the game and kind of just trying to see it from both sides of it, I think you're right in terms of did Liverpool play the way they wanted to play. I think you are correct. I think they had a lot of shots on goal. I think it was something like 24 shots in total. But for me, not enough of the chances were clear cut. And Jurgen Klopp's got a problem on his hands with Liverpool because he keeps constantly complaining about the way teams are playing against him. And the more he complains, the more teams are going to set up with a fucking park in the bus and look at him on the counter-attack, because that is where they're at their weakest, in my opinion. And, he's complaining about Courtois being man of the match, shows the problem with the game. But, Liverpool, I think it's quite clear to see they've struggled to score goals in the big occasions at times. I mean, you look at all three finals they've been in this season, they haven't managed to score a goal in normal or extra time in any of the games. And I think Real Madrid did a good job. Obviously, Liverpool had some chances and Courtois had to be on his A game. I think defensively, Carvajal did a really good job, as did Ferland Mendy, the fullbacks. I think Eder Militao, I don't rate him too highly, but I think he had a decent game. For me, the key players for Real Madrid were, I think Benzema was brilliant at times. I think when Real Madrid were looking for an out ball, he seemed to have the ability to, even in these claustrophobic sort of spaces, bring down the ball and somehow find a quick pass to another player around him and just keep the momentum in Real Madrid's favour. I thought Valverde was absolutely excellent for Real Madrid. Tell me one time you can remember Robertson getting down the line and putting in a cross. You can't, because he was like just out of the game single-handedly, and I think that's the difference in their style and of how they kind of defend from the front, and I thought it was really interesting. Another key player for me was Luka Modric. I thought for as long as he was on there, he was brilliant. I didn't know if he was actually too old for this big occasion, but for me, keeping the ball just ticking along, because they didn't have the ball a lot, but when they did, I thought they did a good job at keeping it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I've just remembered that I think, in my opinion, I still fully don't understand the rule, but they probably had a legitimate goal ruled off VAR late in the first half. But like I said, their game plan, like their game plan has been in other big games, sit back, just soak up the pressure, and then counter. When they counter, they've got the likes of Vinicius Junior running, you've got Benzema running, you've got Valverde on the other side. So I think they just executed it really well, and Liverpool did lack that cutting edge. I think Naby Keita had a big chance, and you don't want it falling to him there. I think, to be honest, I thought Salah played quite well. Courtois made a very good save when it was on his right foot for Salah. But I mean, overall, I think their game plan was to a T, and I don't know what Jurgen Klopp expects. You can't, similar to Man City, you can't play these teams and match them style for style because they have the better players. They're used to playing this style, and they're likely going to win. So you have to come with your own game plan, and you have to execute it. And Don Carlo did exactly that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And actually, I think when you look at those teams, because you kind of said they had the better players there, and I do kind of disagree because I think, if you looked at Liverpool's team, the amount of players which people are saying are in the team of the year, they're the best. This is one of the best Premier League teams ever. I think they're up there for a team in terms of, player for player of quality, what they've got, but they haven't got the achievements, I would say, to be up there because obviously this Manchester City team's in this era. But I think if you highlighted the two teams and you looked at the midfields before the games, obviously Liverpool were missing Fabinho, right?
No, Fabinho played.
Oh yeah, Fabinho played. Who was it? Was it Thiago who was meant to be injured, but he still played, right?
Yeah. Thiago pulled up a little bit in the warm up, but then I think he managed to come through, and I think he played like 70, 80 minutes.
Yeah, for me, the midfield is the difference of the two. I think you look at the experience of the Real Madrid midfield. I don't think they're like necessarily like the sort of midfield Liverpool would want because I don't think they have the energy to play that sort of style, but the creativity they had in there, the expertise, I think it was on a completely different level to the Liverpool midfield. And although it looks shaky at times for Real Madrid and, they seem to be, under the cosh, I think they did a great job. Ancelotti, now he's won, 5 Champions Leagues, and he's won
numerous titles.
Yeah, he's won every league in the top 5 divisions. So, people are putting him up there for one of the greatest managers of all time. But for me, I still don't see it. I don't think he tactically set up the Real Madrid team great. It's basically been the same all the way through.
That's
Pardon?
But that is tactics. He set them to play that way, and it's worked.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that, but it's like, it's like, for me, I haven't really seen anything too impressive from this Real Madrid team. And it's like, you watch them, and yes, it's so crazy because you look at the run they've gone on. It could basically be historically one of the hardest runs to win the Champions League in history. Maybe their group wasn't the hardest. Obviously, they had Sheriff, but they ended up losing to them. But you think since the knockout stages, they had to play PSG, this new amazing front three of Neymar, Mbappe, and one of the greatest of all time in Messi. They were, one of the favourites. Then they had to go and beat the holders of the Champions League in Chelsea. Then Man City, who are, said to be one of the greatest Premier League teams of all time at this current moment stage, and Liverpool, who are also up there and were heavily favoured, and they were underdogs all the way through. And for me, I just think it's crazy the run that they've been on, and they've kind of done the same thing over and over again, and no one's been able to stop them.
It's interesting because in all of those games you've just listed, I just didn't think they were brilliant, but somehow
they were shit.
That's why if you can soak up pressure for 60, 70 minutes, then Real Madrid just come alive and they come at you and they end up winning like they've done for all these games in a row. And they've got the experience, they've got the mentality, they've got the history behind them to see out a game if they're 1-0 up and soak up all the pressure. You've got the likes of Cruz, Casemiro, Modric in midfield. They've been there, done that hundreds of times. You've got Alaba, who's a very experienced centre-back. You've got Courtois in goal, and then you've got the right amount of youth around these key players. And, I mean, fair play. How many Champions Leagues out for Real Madrid now?
Oh, God, it's insane, isn't it? Isn't it like
15 or something silly, 7, or something crazy.
Yeah,
but that speaks volumes for itself.
Yeah, for me, I think it was it's just crazy, like you said, because in all honesty, right, they haven't ever been the most dominant side in any of these ties. You can basically say that in every single time for, they might have had a good spell for 20 minutes in each game, right? But in the majority, they've really been kind of fucked up most of the time. They've been, they haven't had the ball that much. They've been, under the onslaught of whatever team they've been playing, and they've managed to come through it. And for me, I actually picked this game, right? I said I liked the matchup of Trent versus Vinny. I thought that, there was work that Vinny could do and expose him, not because Trent's a bad player, but more because the way Liverpool play and, how far up they want him to play. I don't think it was necessarily that's what caused the goal. In my opinion, I actually thought it was Fabinho, Van Dijk, and Trent. I think all three of them could have done better. I think Trent could have been more switched on.
That was it. Yeah.
I think the other two, though, Van Dijk and Fabinho, Van Dijk could have gone out beforehand, and then they kind of just allowed Valverde to have the time, and they didn't really close him down with any urgency. But for me, Rod, it's just crazy because I've actually picked this team. Yes, I found like out of all the teams they played, Liverpool was probably one of the easier matchups for them. But I kind of picked off like the fact that I felt like it was inevitable that they were going to win.
Something's just carried them through all these games. That like there's some like sort of second wind that they just pick up, and it just works. Because start off with that PSG game, they were getting ruined, and then PSG just turned off, and Benzema went on a madness. Chelsea game, the first leg probably sorted it for them. Man City game, they had no right to win that game. Man City were 2 goals up with a couple minutes, and then Rodrigo goes on a madness. And the Liverpool game, I thought Liverpool were the better side. They've had no right to win these games, but there's just something there. There's something in that team, the spirit, and I think a big part is the rest period. They've had a couple of weeks off Real Madrid now to recover, recuperate, whereas Liverpool have basically, they played last week, an intense game, a game the week before in a cup final. They've played a ridiculous amount of games, and I wouldn't say they're the largest squad. I think they're larger now, but I think you can see fatigue got to them, and it's going to be interesting to see how they recover now, because obviously Mane's leaving. Salah's probably got one more year. Firmino's getting on. Obviously they've got Diaz, Jota to come in, but they still need to bolster that squad a bit more.
Yeah, for me though, I was just looking at the Real Madrid team as I was listening to you talk there, Rod, and the team isn't the youngest squad, right? And if I was to go, right, 2021, 2022 never happened, and I went to Real Madrid win, right? You can argue that they haven't even got one of the top 6 squads in the Champions League when you look at it on paper. Yes, they've got some great names there, but a lot of them have been and done their thing. I think it's actually crazy the fact they've won it. You look at the City, all the teams they beat on the way there. And then there's other teams in the tournament who I think could have had a good run. I think Inter looked really good this season, and I don't know, man. I just think it's crazy. I literally just felt that, some things are meant to be, and Real Madrid were meant to win the Champions League. And then I had a moment where I almost switched because I heard the fact that the last time Real Madrid lost a Champions League final was in Paris against Liverpool, and I was like, oh shit, here we go again. But yeah, man, it was crazy. Have you got a favourite moment from this Champions League season, though, Rod, which really stands out to you?
Well, you're access to my memory here.
I am. Can I go with mine?
Yeah, go with it, man. I'm going to be struggling.
I know it's a bit cuntishy, but I love the fact of the Everton fans and the limited. What was the company called? The bus thing. Mate, oh my god! Some of the greatest banter of all time, right?
I've got mine as well.
Yeah, but the fact that all the Liverpool fans bought tickets to go over to Paris, and they're waiting on this bus, and the bus driver's called Richard Arlison, and he never turned up. Some of the greatest banter, and for me, Everton went up a level in my estimation because of that moment.
And Carlo came out at the end of the game and said that will make the Evertonians happy. So yeah, mine was Savic pulling Grealish's hair and fighting him. Basically, that was my favourite moment.
Yeah, but I think it's actually been a really good Champions League. I think we had loads of drama on the way to the final. The final itself was a decent game in my opinion. A lot of people saying it's quite boring, but I kind of enjoyed it. I felt it was quite tense and stuff like that. I think there was a couple matchups we were kind of hoping for on the way to the final, which never really happened. But you can't have it all. But overall, the league's over. The playoffs are done now. We've got Forest coming up to the Prem. the Champions League's done. It is the end of the season, Rod. All we've got to talk about now, read through the summer, is some random videos of me talking some shit with you, some transfer videos, and then we've got FPL coming out again at the towards the start of the season. So it's been a mad ride, really, hasn't it?
Mate, there's so much has happened. We've had COVID, we've had some shock results, we've had some upsets, we've had some jubilations, but yeah, it's been an interesting and crazy season, and I'm really looking forward to next season where we've got some big teams in the league, we've got some fierce competition and fierce transfers.
Yeah, I was looking at the Premier League, all the clubs in it, and it looks so like juicy for next season. The Championship, though, looks like I saw a comment saying it looks like the most championship of all time, because it's just like the teams in there, none of them are really like Premier League teams. They're all as what you consider mid-table Championship teams. So it's going to be an interesting run. But thanks for joining me, Rod. Obviously, let us know in the comment section down below, guys, what you thought of the Champions League final. And I guess me and Rod will see you next time. So take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon with a transfer video. Until next time, take care. Peace. Bye.